What's up, everybody? I got some light just right on my face there. That's nice. I am going to be working on this character some more. There's a lot that I want to do, and we got some time, so let's just chill out and get some sculpting done. It's mainly what I do most days, but tonight, I don't know, just want to try to make some progress on this, try to push forward. I haven't looked at this in a minute, just loaded this back up. This is a witch character that we are trying to work on for the month of October. And music's a little loud, let me turn that down. I'm going to be working on the face a little bit more, working mainly on proportions and a few things to get this into a realm of appeal. As of right now, as it stands, we're not there, so I'm going to be just playing around with our face quite a bit, tweaking a lot of little things, but they will add up over time. And as you guys pop in here, you can feel free to ask any questions or anything else. Just say hello or chill out. Doesn't matter to me. I'm just here to do some sculpting and maybe answer some questions if I can. Ooh, you know what? 1 second here, let me make sure that my stream actually is live and all that's set up. Alright. Un momento. Just change the name of our stream here. Since it's Sunday, I was trying not to do any sculpting today since it's Sunday, it's the weekend. I was trying to just chill out, but here we are. So this morning I was just hanging out playing some Hearthstone, since I haven't done that in a very long time here on my computer. Normally it's just my mobile game, but figured re-download it, play a little. And I had not updated the stream title. And I just got the Twitch affiliate, and I know you can be temporarily banned for mislabeling streams. I don't think it would be that big of a deal, but also I don't want it to say playing Hearthstone and people pop in here and see this, which is obviously very much so not Hearthstone. But what we're trying to accomplish here, getting into the realm of appeal. So some things that I'm looking at when I'm thinking about creating an appealing face. A lot of the issues I think right now just proportionally happening in the face, and then are proportionally happening in the face, and then in our eyes. So, and I don't mean proportionally in terms of like the size of our eyes or the size of our mouth or anything like that. It's mainly just how everything's working together. There's a lot of different variations that you can have in your face in terms of proportions. If you're looking at, let's say, a Disney character, or comparing a Disney character and a Blizzard character, right? There's a huge difference there proportionally in what's happening, but they tend to both be appealing, just in different styles. So, for us, I mentioned that I'm not particularly going for this kind of dull aesthetic. That's at least what I call this type of face. I'm going to be doing something probably a little bit closer to a Disney style character, and because of that our eyes are going to be larger. I'm going to be working on creating some nice facial loops, rounding out a lot of these forms. So from the brow here, and then wrapping around to the cheek, down to the corner of the mouth. I'm just getting this form to wrap nicely. We can even turn on perspective and just look at this from as many different angles as we can. So I'm just trying to line all this stuff up. It can be a little bit tough, but I think we would like to go into transpose mode and mess with some of this stuff a little bit proportionally. But to do that, first we're going to need to remesh our head. And when I do that, I'm gonna lose some info here. So I was thinking about creating some more poly loops with poly groups, but instead of doing that, I think I'm just gonna project, and that will probably be good enough. Really all I need is something low res so that I can make really quick large scale changes with my move brush or something similar. Whatever it's gonna be, whatever I use, I just need it to be able to affect a large area at once. And when you have a really dense mesh, it's really hard to do that. Looks like the mouth of our character is going to not cooperate for us, so let's maybe take some time, or instead of cleaning that up, let's just try upping the resolution of our face, and maybe just coming in here, deleting that, making 2 poly groups there, make that a little bit more clean. And yeah, I think I will up-res the face, just so we can get a little bit more form in the corners of the mouth. That's really the main problem area here. But once we do that, we'll be able to go into T-pose and start just kind of moving some stuff around. So it's going to be a little bit weird there, I think, still. That's probably close enough, though. So let's throw some subdivs in here, project on up through our chain, and see what this is looking like. I think that'll probably be good for our purposes. And we are getting a little bit of some projection bleed in there, so I'll just smooth that out, and we'll be messing with that more as we go. It does not need to be perfect right now. But these subdivision levels are going to help us out a lot, I think. So I'm just stepping up and down through these subdivision levels, just using the D and Shift D hotkey. Trying to make some really quick changes. Trying to get this face to wrap a little bit better. And once that really starts to happen, I can start smoothing this out here. Getting that to taper some more. I also want to pull in around my brow. I think it's just looking a little bit heavy here from the front. Probably mess with the angle of my eyes even more. I'm not really looking at any references right now other than what I have on screen, which, you know, isn't necessarily recommended, but a lot of what this character has been is just experimentation and trying to find those appealing shapes. Right now we're specifically kind of focusing in around kind of this area, looking at the cheekbone, the eye. Those are all really tough areas to get right. So maybe just try to define that plane change a little bit more. Maybe after that we can start softening some of this area. And then let's hop into T-pose, transpose master, and see what we can do just as a whole here. So one of the things I want to try experimenting with is increasing the size of my eyes. Increasing the size, or just moving them around, maybe adding some rotation to my lids. Obviously, getting that angle is very important, as it changes the look and feel of your character quite a bit, depending on, you know, making it look kind of like a dumpy or dumpy, kind of like just a unintelligent character, and then again like hyper Asian insectoid eyes. One of the areas that I really try to focus on when I'm doing this is getting this lower eyelid to wrap really well from one side of the face to the other, wrap all the way through. It's really tough to get just right, but when you do, it starts to feel really, really good. So if we could maybe get that angle a little bit better, get this feeling good. We could probably at this stage even merge our eyelids into our actual head, which was going to be helpful in just defining that, making that look more clean. Turn on perspective, see how our other angles of our face are looking just from a 3/4 view. Do we want to get some more volume up through this area? The answer is probably yes. The furthest point out on your face, if you're looking directly on, should be your cheekbone. I'm getting a little, what's the word, kind of like bulbous up here in the head, which is very common in stylized characters. Like anime style characters, Disney style characters, they'll have this really big bulbous head, but typically it's covered by hair and never seen. But really big head, really small face, really big eyes, and then smaller nose, mouth, and ears. I see that very often. It's kind of the trait characteristics of that style. I was thinking about making this nose smaller. Maybe not. Maybe not. Let's not make that smaller just yet. I'm going to be working on these lips more as well, since we kind of roughed those in during our last stream working on this character. Getting those to a little bit of a better spot would be nice. And let's see. Working on that jawline a little bit. Keeping that perspective on. Let's just zoom out here. Make sure that things are somewhat working here. And I think we want to merge in those eyelids next. That'll be our next kind of big change here to the face. And that's why I'm keeping the lips looking a little bit awkward right now. I need to keep those separated so that as I'm dynameshing geometry in, it's not fusing my lips together. We can't tell Dynamesh to ignore certain areas. Alright, let's hop on out of T-pose and just work on this area, this ridge around the eye some more, as well as a couple other areas here, and then we'll start merging some geometry in. I'm just going to start by adding some form up here. Just really rough that in. And we'll sit here and take a look here. I'm just trying to get a little bit of a hit, a little bit more of a hit from this three-quarter angle. Definitely needs it. Just kind of pulling this form together here. Luckily we have some subdivs, so if we want to step up and down through those, smooth some things out, it's always very helpful. Starting to get really dirty though, so we want to start blending that. Get a little pinch in here, get a little blend out. You don't want to add too much form to your brow though, because it starts to turn caveman really quick. So as you just really rough that in, make sure you're you're knocking it back down just enough so that you're not getting into that kind of ape feel. And thinking about rounding out this transition in here a little bit more. I was playing around with keeping that really tight. I think maybe we can try to soften it a little. But we are getting a little bit more of a curve here. That's kind of what we're looking for. It's starting to look better. It's starting to shape up. Just takes a little bit of time here. Maybe some pinch around here. Get that surface to turn some more. And we can maybe just pull out our quick little geo eyebrows that we threw on there. Sometimes I like to throw some really quick, rough hair on a character that I'm working on. That can be helpful sometimes. I'm just figuring out some of this area here. I think for the most part, though, we want to merge in our brows now. So, or not our brows, I'm sorry, our eyelids. Our lids, not our brows. So, let's probably add some subdivision levels to these. I don't think they have any right now. So just subdivide those up a few times. Our bottom lid already has some subdivs. So I will merge that bottom lid first. It's really thick. Let's just make sure we got that looking okay through there. And we will merge down onto that. So we have those together. Just a simple die mesh. We'll try around 300, probably fine. And actually that's a little bit low, so let's try like 500 or 600. It's giving us 1.3. That's fine. We'll stick with that. And then typically I will start to fade out this transition. Just thinking about edge quality, you're coming in from this really tight area, it tends to start to fade out a little bit. The sharper you keep this all the way through, the more it's going to age your character, the more it's going to look like they have bags under their eyes. So let's start positioning that. And I'm doing this a little bit rough here at first, but we'll be able to clean it up afterwards. Being super slow right now. Make sure dynamic's not on. I'm going to turn off perspective here. When I'm this close to my mesh, using perspective is typically a no-go for the camera. It really kind of screws with it. And maybe start to turn that surface a little bit. We'll mess with that in a moment. So, edge quality. What do I mean when I'm talking about edge quality? It's one of these fundamentals that we need to worry about. Kind of like thick to thin. Thick to thin in the eyelids in particular is definitely something you want to think about. But edge quality is making sure that your edges, whether they're hard or soft, that they're not retaining that same quality throughout the entire portion of that edge. So, in particular, like I said, we'll fix that area. But in particular, as we're coming through this super tight crease, we come around, got the eye here, and we can maybe clean up that line a little bit more. Can even just select this area by itself if we want to work on that. I can just start to tweak that manually with my move brush. And then as it's coming out here to this far edge, I just want to start softening that, tapering it as much as I can. And then around this edge, I'll try to pinch that up a little bit. And then I always try to keep this plane of the eyelid pointing in towards the middle of the eye, just so that we're getting a nice read on that lower lid. Make sure that we can see that all the way through. Once we start putting in eyelashes, it'll help these eyelids read a lot better, a lot more graphically. Really, when it's kind of tough when you're starting to put something together. If you don't have all the parts or pieces in there. Oh, and I'm sorry, Engine X. I missed you there. How you doing, man? Missed your little wave. Hope you're doing well. When you're putting in all your parts here, it's sometimes tough if you don't have everything in at once to begin reading some of these forms and how they're working together. So I try, quick save, I try to get that in relatively early. We're still kind of working on the early stages of this face. This area is gonna need to be remeshed as we start to work on that and open up this eye a little bit more here. What we're looking at kind of in terms of hits in the eyelids, we have that top lid all right, but I'm kind of getting this major gap at an angle for the most part. That's kind of what we're trying to achieve. Maybe pull this corner up a little bit more. In particular, we all know eyes are tough, but that inner corner can be really tough to get to feel right, especially where your tear duct is. That little, I don't know, it's kind of like a little indent of a pill, kind of like a pill shape. It's the best way I could probably describe it. Let's see. Might just merge this in as is so that we can start modifying it, tweaking it around. I think that's going to be the easiest way to handle that. So let's do that. Make sure that we got our top lid underneath our head there, merged together, and run a Dynamesh. And it dropped our resolution for us again. And then I'll show you guys something cool that we can do with our polygrouping tools. We can actually use some polygroups to create a polygroup around this eyelid, and then when we ZRemesh, ZBrush is going to put an edge loop around there, and that's going to help us just clean up that form, be able to move it really easily, and proper edge flow is just going to help us with sculpting in general. This is kind of a little bit of a, like I said, kind of like a pill shape, or just this little bit of an indent in here. We'll work on that for a little bit. We'll work on these eyes as a whole and start to get those looking better. I recommend, try to keep things separated as long as you can when you're trying to work on stuff like this. I tried to keep those eyelids separated for a little bit longer, but I think it's just going to be more helpful once we start getting in here and tweaking this all at once. It's a little messy right now, but we will, like I said, get in here with ZRemesher and clean some of that up. If you want to soften some of this form, I think that's fine. I would just not push it too far. We are going to want to define those edges for ZRemeshing. Kind of want to try something really drastically different with our eyebrows. I put these in really quick as a demonstration during our last stream and then never did anything else with them, and I feel bad. Eyebrows are so expressive for your character, and much like the eyes, they can really kind of completely change how your character feels. Let's try deleting that edge loop. A little bit too much form in here. I wanted to try just thickening these up, like a ton. Try something a little different. I don't know. We can play around and experiment. It's a lot of what this character is. These past couple streams, just playing around with different stuff, experimenting. I think a plane just flew in front of the sun and caused a massive, really quick shadow. That was interesting. Alright, so from the 3/4 view here, our head is definitely shaping up a little bit better. I'm still noticing a little bit of a lack of depth in this area. And possibly, I think so. So let's turn perspective back on. I will be flattening the head more here on the side, just kind of bringing that into more of a planar shape. We're just getting a little bit too rounded. Sometimes it's hard to spot that stuff depending on your material and everything else, your lighting setup. So I recommend shifting that quite often. You're gonna get a strong side view with that. It's up in your light menu up here. Just grab the ball. You can move the little dot around on there. And then for our ear, let's hide that for just a moment. Looking at our jawline coming up. Probably move that ear forward some. And down a little bit. Pretty basic ear, but they do help you figure out some stuff with the shape of your face. Very helpful in that regard. I think even just pushing in here, even though this is like a really rough kind of trim, I think that's helping that read just a little bit better. I think the roundness of the face is reading a lot better now. We might want to try to carry that curve all the way through here. Let's see. Try to replane that out a little bit. See if I can get this turn to happen a little bit earlier. Right now, I'm not. Go back to my kind of plain view here so I can understand my form a little bit better. Okay, so I will probably push all that in, just a little bit of trim here. Get that ridge of the skull, the zygomatic bone here. And even though this is going to be a stylized character, this stuff is just informing kind of these major shapes that we see. And then this will also allow me to, after I remesh, of course, we'll be able to pull this down so she's not looking quite so wide-eyed and surprised. Really start to get in here and mess with these corners as well. So let's ZRemesh this head. Let's try to get something that's workable. And we're going to turn off perspective to do that. Start creating some selection groups, and once we have a group that we like, we can polygroup it by pressing Ctrl-W. So let's turn off the line. So we want one for the mouth. That was actually a little bit of a poor selection. Let's get that a little bit closer to the corner of the mouth. Something like that. And then for the eyes. For the eyes, we want a polygroup running around this portion of the eyes. We'll mask this and change this shape a little bit. It doesn't need to be perfect, but essentially I'm just looking for this little area. You could even bring this up to the wing of the nose here if you wanted to help it inform the shape of your nose. Pull it all the way up here. Make sure that that's nice and clean. And this will help us define our brows a little bit better. So Control W. Whoa, that color was almost exactly the same. That's what you don't want. There we go. Is that so hard? And then we will, ooh, whoops, accidentally got all this on the back side too, so let's get rid of that. All right, so now I will do one for this area around my eyes here. And it doesn't have to be perfect. We can come back through with our mask brush, clean up that edge some more. So in here, as we're getting in this creased area, I want that to be a little bit closer. Whoop. My brush is having some trouble here. Let's see. Alright, let's clean this up a little bit more here. Because my mask pen is having some trouble getting in here, I'll just use my mask lasso a little bit. Seems to be working a little bit better. Alright, Control W, polygroup all of that. We'll hide this green polygroup. And now let's do one more edge loop around just the edge of our lids here. And all of these edge loops are going to, all of these polygroups are going to create edge loops. Or at least they should. ZRemesher occasionally has some problems depending on just how high your resolution is, how many polygroups you got going on. There can be a lot of things that kind of really screw it up. So, to help maybe fix that, we'll play around with some settings here. Let's see, so polygroup, I think that'll be good enough for us. If we want to add in some more polygroups, we should probably do that now. I'll do one more here, maybe around the nose. And it's probably fine, something like that. Alright, so we got some polygroups, didn't take us very long. And now, when I ZRemesh, keep groups, target poly count 5K is probably going to be close to what we're looking for. So let's give that a shot and see how it. Mainly, what we're looking for is the area of the eyes, the corner of the mouth. We'll see how it looks. If it's a little janky, I'll be fine with it. But if it gets a little bit too crazy in there, I will for sure have to retry here. So we got some stretching in here around around this area. Let's see. Let's try lowering our poly count to see if we can get rid of that corner stretching that we had. I think we just had too many edge loops happening here in the eye. So because I've put a lot of polygroups around this area, it's putting more of that geometry around here too. So let's see. That's a little bit better. That's a little bit worse. That's fine. That's nothing to worry about. I think that'll be good enough for kind of moving forward here. We're getting this really bad kind of, what's actually going on here? It's trying to retain the quad shape here, and it's really kind of warped this and connected this oddly. I say we just go with it. And it might make it a little bit harder to sculpt in this area. But everything else looks pretty close to what we want for this. So I'm just going to subdivide and project a few times. And then after doing that, we can get in and sculpt with our newfound edge loops. So we got some nice and clean edge loops around here. It'll just help us be able to get in here, tweak these shapes. And even if we soften this form just because the geometry is flowing, the way we group this, it'll actually help inform that smooth as well. So even just having those loops there is going to help clean this up nicely. So I'll try to use them to my advantage as best as I can for that kind of stuff, but sometimes like up around here in the corner of the brow there, there's some other areas like around here and here, get a little bit tough to deal with. I think it's gonna be worth it just so we can move forward here and keep sculpting away. And I'm not even going to keep this topology the entire way through this process. I try to get some nice clean topology or some decent topology around these loops so that it can help me sculpturally. So in particular with the eyes, I want those clean loops in there so that sculpting this form starts to get easier, and getting a little bit of a weird turn in the surface there. And it just makes it easier so that when I'm, wanting to work on anything in particular, I can just mask it off really quick. All this becomes much faster. So for my particular workflow, I'm pretty much always just bouncing back and forth between Dynamesh and ZRemesher and everything else. Really, it's not a I don't have like at this part of the stage work in Dynamesh. It's more of what do I need right now and what's the fastest and most efficient way that I can create blank, whatever that's going to be. So for now, we were working on the eyes, and I was like, it'd be nice if I had some edge loops in there. So hey, let's put some edge loops in there, and that'll make working on these eyes much easier. Plus, just having low-res topology, it's a lot easier to manipulate than some high-res stuff, for sure. Just grabbing a big old move brush and getting in here, it's always very nice. And I kind of want to, let's see, let's take this, try to soften this as it comes out around here some more. Maybe we can do something else with these brows since we keep forgetting that they exist. And these are just tubes of geometry. They're not even, they're just, a few polys here, 32-ish or so, that I've kind of quickly put together. But I recommend if you're working on eyes, try to get some, some simple eyebrows in there, at least in the beginning. Just because when you're working on eyes without eyebrows, it just makes it a little bit more tough, in my opinion. Like if we turn these off, things just in general look off. I mean, immediately, without anything to reference your eyes off of. So the more stuff we can get around here, the more it's going to help us out. Katie, welcome back. We're back to our witchy lady. I was thinking about, I just wanted to kind of get some sculpting done. And I was thinking about maybe next week we could do like a 3D fusion, but I don't know. The more this character shapes up, I know the more I'll want to work on it, so that's why I was thinking if I do it next week, would probably be better. But I was thinking of maybe trying to do a new fusion. I don't know. We'll see. If anybody has any ideas for a good fusion, and if you guys don't know what I mean by fusion, I have a series of characters that I've been working on. I haven't made a fusion in a while, a 3D fusion, but I just take two different characters, smash them together in 3D, and create something new. So if you look down at the link below, I think there's a link to my 3D shop, which I don't have my Twitch open, so I'll just go to my website to get to it. That's the fastest way for me to do it. But let's see. Here are some of the 3D fusions here. We can go by most popular. So Banjo-Kazooie, Angry Birds, Spyro Lapras, Butterfree Vulpix, Chewbacca plus Alpaca. So, if anybody has any good ideas for two things that we can smash together, Ariel on the last stream was suggesting Majora's Mask and the mask from Princess Mononoke. I thought that one was pretty cool. But it's not a character, so I prefer to work on characters. I don't mind working on props and stuff, but if I'm gonna make a fusion of something, I think it's more fun to do a character. Alright, I want to make this brow a little bit lower. Okay, that looks good. Beautiful. Absolutely, Katie, you're very welcome. I won't, you know, I'm not saying this to, like, toot my horn or anything, but I don't know why people email me and ask me for advice on stuff, but it happens somewhat fairly often, and I want to help people as best as I can, but I think sometimes I just give advice that people don't want to hear. I don't know. I hope I didn't do that to you earlier, Katie. I wasn't trying to make you feel down or anything. But I try to look at things as objectively as I possibly can. And sometimes I can come out a little harsh, and I apologize if I seemed a little harsh. I just try to be as real as possible. When, especially when you're talking about something as serious as what you're talking about, your livelihood and everything. And I would hate to give you, or anybody else for that matter, advice or an opinion that I didn't think was accurate or true. So hopefully I didn't come across that way, and I apologize if I did. Let's see. So I was thinking that the depth there was just a little bit too much coming forward. I'm just gonna leave that. Let's just start mangling this. Start moving stuff around. I gave you a few ideas you're gonna work around. Cool. Well, that's good to hear. If you ever need to bounce anything around, shoot me a message. So, got a little bit of a long chin here. Maybe just a couple. I'm just trying to nudge some major things around. Try to get to a little bit more of a rounded face. Overall, just felt like we were quite a bit tall there. And I think that was adding to this looking a little bit older than I wanted. Right now, let's see. Getting a little bit more young feeling, I think. The mouth, just because of the way it's spread right now, is maybe throwing it off a little bit. The only reason I have that is... Oh, pen's not working. The only reason I have that is because this starts to get a little dicey when I merge all this stuff or start pressing it all together, because I forget sometimes that it's pressed together, and if I Dynamesh later, it ends up not being good, and then I have to redo the mouth, and I don't want to redo the mouth, and it's not fun. A lot of extra work that we add in there. So I'll try. If you guys see me Dynamesh the face, just everybody type lips in chat really fast. Don't forget the lips, because I probably will. But I want these to look a little bit more natural, and I don't know if I'll be Dynameshing this back together anytime soon. Ooh, another thing, while we're moving our lips around, add some more thickness to our lower lip. Always want that lower lip to be inset. Upper lip should always, if you're, just close your mouth and maybe even look at a mirror or take a picture of your face from the side. You're gonna have a little bit of this, angularity to your face if you're looking at it from a profile view, but your front lip should always be hitting from that front plane before your lower lip. And maybe I've pushed that a little bit too far. I could try to lessen that, but I prefer to have that kind of strong angularity in there when I'm working on my characters, and then I can take it back later if I need to, just because it's something that I think is kind of tough to get in there if you don't do it at first, and then forget about it. And then we're getting that real nice tight crease in here, so you kind of want a little bit of that kind of roundness that you get from there, and that's kind of what you get when you add these polygroups. You can start to, let's try this brush, start to get a little bit of kind of this shape happening. Let's see, like around here. You definitely want to try to get some of that. It might be getting a little much right now. I don't know. Maybe I can just try, move AccuCurve. I know it looks really goofy right now, but, and I can say that word now because we're not sculpting goofy, which is nice. I know it looks a little goofy right now, but give it a second. Let me kind of inflate some of this area around here. Get that really strong turn in there. It's a really hard form to sculpt, in my opinion, and anything you can kind of do to exaggerate that at first is going to help it. It's like this really strange kind of subduction kind of going on here. And also another thing that's really bothering me. So I'm trying to do all this while keeping in mind this line here. And I think this maybe just got a little bit too much here. And my my edge flow isn't really helping me. It's not really doing me any favors in the corner of my mouth right now. That's probably... what just happened? Accidentally ran a Dynamesh there. So lots of experimentation. We're getting there. What's going on? Well, sorry, my font's like so small on my computer. Nominal TV. Welcome to the stream. Hope you're having a great day. And Katie, I'd roll the top lip forward to get more pout. We can absolutely try that. Right now it's very flat. I totally agree. Let's see if I can clean this up just a little bit more before we start trying to get that. This geometry fudged us real good. Alright, let's try move. AccuCurve is still on. And, whoops, turn that off. Let's see. I want to make sure that that face is wrapping good. And I think this is also starting to curve a bit much through there. Trying to get some, or starting to get some like secondary curves going on. Definitely want to avoid that. And we're getting really tight in there, like kind of a depression. It's looking very, very awkward. Try to fix all that. Typically when I'm sculpting lips, I will do those really hard creases like I just did, and then start to knock it back like a little bit with my smooth, or just soften it with some trim or something like that. We're getting there. It's starting to look, slowly but surely, the face is looking a little bit better. I'm just going to plane these out here. And then get that form back in, those pillows of the lips. There's 3 individual kind of shapes here that pillow out on the lips. This one, and then the wings of the lips there that are unmasked. We'll get those back in just a moment. I could also use an extra subdivision level, I think. I think that'll help. Let's try to get a little bit more volume in here. Try to experiment with that. Whoop. Turn off perspective, because our camera's freaking the hell out. Alright, let's get an extra subdiv in here. And play around with this upper lip shape a little bit more. We're getting, I think, a little bit flat in the mouth in general. I don't know if you guys see that as well. I'm definitely feeling like we could use some more depth here in the mouth. So let's try really just kind of pushing those corners of the mouth back. Another way that, another thing that can like really help you figure out that that roundness of the mouth there is putting some teeth in the mouth. That can be very helpful. I've done that a few times, or just even if it's a cylinder or something like that, that can sometimes help you out. And I think we're maybe right around here, getting a little bit rounded, something. And we're kind of smushing in a little bit too much. Let's play with this shape some more. Kind of around here that's feeling off. We'll figure it out. What do we want to do with you? Let's see, where's this surface? So we're starting to look a lot better proportionally from the front. From the side, that's where things are starting to fall apart. So let me see here, this inside surface. I think, let's play around here a little bit. Try to just play with some volumes a tad, just moving some stuff around. And the way we remeshed this in here, or the way that ZRemesher remeshed it, I should say, is not going to do us any favors when sculpting around this area, unfortunately. Oop, we got a little bit of an extra group in here, some extra floater. Might have to get rid of that. Let's see, so let's start to add some more form in here. And welcome all the new people that are joining us tonight. I don't normally stream on Sundays, but hey, why not, right? I didn't really have anything else to do, and I was pretty bored, and I wanted to do some sculpting, and we have a character that we're working on, so why not, right? We just ate a delicious granola bar, filled our tongue. Got on here, get to sculpt some really dirty forms, then make them more clean. I love sculpting me some dirty forms. And of course, we still got some, like, I'll just keep strokes on my surface, like, as a little reminders, like, hey, fix this. I don't know if you guys do that. Typically what I'll do is I'll add in, where is it? Just like some little damn standard lines if I'm like, fix this area, or like taper that some more, and then I'll come back to it later. You can just write little notes on your sculpt, come in and say, head bad, just leave this here, fix me, there we go. And we got our extra little writing over there. Alright, so we started to get some depth in here. I think we're lacking that depth, starting to flow from this area. And that is what is really throwing this off right through here. So I'm looking at this edge. And I think just getting that in a little bit more, and then up through the nose. You can start thinking about your nasolabial fold and just getting this form to transition nicely up through here and around the mouth. I think that's helping a little bit. Let's see. Let's play around with... I'm probably going to re-Dynamesh this in a moment. I want to just play with quickly putting in some really rough hair. Just something to look at. So the way I'll start putting in hair, whether it's going to be long or short, I have no idea what I'm going to do for this character. I'll just start with a head cap. So just a quick mask on the head, and I'll polygroup it. I'll either extract it or I will just take the geometry that I have there. This way is a little bit easier if you just plan on doing something really rough. You can just Dynamesh it. And then if you want, you can inflate it or you can scale it up. It doesn't really matter. Just something so that there is some geometry there, or however you want to, shape that up. And then you can get in and sculpt on it however you want. Make sure that dynamic is off and start actually getting some form, whatever you want to do. I'll just kind of keep it as a cap for now. Just having anything up there can be helpful, just to visualize some of the forms going on in my face. Found some amazing anatomy reference figurines on 3D Total for not that much. They might be the ones that I recommend buying. I actually have some 3D Total anatomy figures back on my desk back here. If you guys are looking for some, if you look down at the bottom of the chat under my gear, I have some 3D Totals figures in there. I don't know if they're the ones that you're talking about, Katie, but they might be a little bit better priced. Depending on which one you're looking at. If you're looking at the écorché, like half and half, I think that's what those are, I believe. But if you're looking at just the fully skinned or the fully écorché, I think those are priced differently. It's been a while since I've purchased mine, though. Alright, so we got some hair in there. Some hairs. Another thing that'll help out our eye area a lot is putting in some eyelashes, which we could do, I guess. Since we've been working on our mouth here a little bit. If I can, try to get a little bit more inflate here in these lips. Move our light around. And then what I like to do for my, let's see, come on, just select the dang thing. So for my lips, I like to put in on the bottom lip a really strong tight crease in the middle here. And then what you can do is start to pull over one side with move back face masking on. And just kind of inflate it a little bit. It'll help you get those two pillow shapes for the bottom lip. And then that'll help this top part, this center part, slot in a little bit better. And I'll do the same thing up here. I'll use that same MAH cut brush, but instead of that singular line in the middle, I'll just pull in a little bit along this area to get these 3 distinct shapes. I hear the ice cream truck. These 3 distinct shapes of our upper lip. What does that? Do your ears hang low? Nice. Nice. But yeah, there we go. Start to get those 3 distinct shapes there. Wow, that is loud. I don't know if you guys can hear that. What up, Red Wax? Welcome to the stream. We can, I think, at this point, just go ahead and switch on over. Beautiful. Looking great. God, I hate this material. Who knows what they were thinking when they made that, and when they made it the default. I think they did it on purpose just to screw with people. It's really the only thing that I can think of. Dang, guy. Can you, maybe not just sit right outside my house? Alright. So a little bit more tweak around here. And I'm gonna pull in that lower jaw, that lower lip. Just a bit more here. The song never ends. Music, please. Oh no, why? Why is my pretzel app like failing? Oh no. Hurry up. My pretzel app, my music app is like crashing right now. Alright, let's try restarting it. Great timing. Oh my god. Shut up. Go away. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but it's like blasting in my ears. Yeah, my music app died. I don't know what's going on. I'll just leave it, and we'll listen to Do Your Ears Hang Low for the next 3 hours while it sits outside my house. Great. Can't wait. I'm so excited. Okay, they left. Thank God. Ice cream fans always sound sinister. Yes, they absolutely do. And iSoother, hello. Welcome. How you doing? Welcome to the stream. We are currently working on... Ooh, we got the music app. It loaded a thing. We're currently working on the face of a new character right now. Trying to get towards that realm of appealing shapes and such. Taking it slow. I was trying to make the face a little bit more round here since we've started. It's definitely gotten a lot closer to that. I will load up the old version so you guys, so people that are just kind of jumping in here can see where we have come from. Spoiler alert, not a good place. Everything starts off looking bad. Everything looks bad until it doesn't. Right? So don't be... I don't know if you guys are sculptors or artists at all in general, but if you... it's looking better. I'm just hardening that jawline so I can define that plane a little bit better. But, what was I saying? If you're struggling with how your stuff is looking, how your artwork is looking, and you're in those early stages, really just, it doesn't matter. Like, the only difference between someone who's painting something like, I don't know, what's the only difference between someone who, like, a master artist and you is time. Like, you can do exactly what they do. It's gonna take longer. They might be able to paint the Mona Lisa in a day. but you can do it. It might take a month or a year, but I mean, you can do it. So if your stuff's looking stupid or it's just looking bad in general, like, don't be down on yourself about it. Just give it some time. And keep pushing forward. You'll eventually get there. You'll figure it out. When you look at a face from the front view without perspective on, things start to warp really hard. So make sure if you're working on a face or anything, you're toggling that perspective on and off quite frequently. You want to get a good read on your shapes. My music! I think it loaded. I think it's working now. Ooh. Can we hear anything? Oh, I hear things. Cool. Yay. Music. Let's see. So what character are you creating? This is just a stylized character. We've been experimenting and we've been blocking out some stuff for a while. Our head's quite small right now as I've started to round it out. I've been zoomed in here on the face for quite a while. It's October, so I've been starting to work on a witch character. Well, at least that's the intention right now. We're still in the blockout phase of just straight up creating the actual character. No clothing, no props, nothing like that. So it could go really any direction. But at least for now, that is the plan. October, spooky month, spooky character. And we'll get there slowly but surely. I'm gonna go into transpose since I have been zoomed in here on the face so long. Kind of neglected proportions and everything else. It's good to take a step back every once in a while and get back here and start to work on this stuff. So let's see. Tend to go more realistic style, but it's hard sometimes. I mean, I think it's all hard, right? It all depends, I guess, what you're trying to do. Or realism and stylized mixed. Yeah, I think stylized is a very wide category. My style tends to, or the style of characters that I typically create, I say tend to fit somewhere between Disney and Nintendo. Let's see. I think I have my art station here. Here's Gooby, good old Goofy boy. That's who we made on our last stream. So we went. The concept is by the way, by Maddie C on Twitter. So definitely check out her artwork. Created this concept here, and then here's the 3D realization. But you know, I've worked on stuff as cartoony as Looney Tunes and as realistic as some actual pilots for the Museum of Flight. So I've done a bunch of different stuff. Anymore, I tend to do a lot of stylized, heavily stylized work. It's definitely what I prefer. But yeah, I mean, it's all just a matter of time, really, right? Kerrigan, a Kerrigan likeness model. I don't know if I know who Kerrigan is. I might have to look that up later. Did a turntable, but you're not happy. Well, just like I was saying, I don't know if you were in here. It's just a matter of time, right? You just gotta keep pushing forward on it, and you will get there eventually. I definitely need some more depth in my face, in the eyes specifically, getting really flat in there, and in general, this plane is not right. We need to reshape some stuff from the profile here by quite a bit, and we'll start messing with that as soon as I get out of transpose. Apple locked your iTunes account that I never made. Very nice. That's always fun. I wonder if someone created one using your email address? That's weird. That is strange. Can you link your ArtStation? You absolutely can. I can't promise that I will look at it while I am streaming. I'll probably look at it later though. I for sure will look at it after I'm done streaming. I tend not to click on links while I'm streaming just because you never know. Nothing against you personally, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. Ooh, why didn't that mask off? What's up here? Try that again. Nah, that's fine. Alright, let's work on... Actually, you know what? Instead of hopping out of transpose, maybe it's easier to do this in transpose. So I'm gonna kind of mess a lot of stuff up here as I start to really try to get some more depth in these eyes and fix a bunch of stuff in her face. Trying to really pull the corners of the eyes back quite a bit here. Let's just keep messing with a lot of these shapes in the face. Thanks. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Let's try to get more of that wrap from one eye to the other. Get some of that going. Getting there. And you know what? I'm either going to make these eyes a lot smaller or I'm going to make these eyes a lot larger. Let's start by just opening this up, seeing if that is going to help. And let's maybe move our eye down, our eyeball down. I like to try to keep my eyes as spheres the entire time. Depending on how big the eye is in the head though, you will sometimes get those situations where they're smashing together inside the head. That's fine. The important thing that you want to try to keep in those eyes is the roundness of those eyes. So if you start warping that shape, you can get into a little bit of a finicky territory. I don't know, I think it really comes down to preference, and I'm going to just try to scale up my eyeballs a little bit. And it looks like we have something wrong with our topology in the face. It looks like something isn't mirrored properly. Unfortunate. We'll have to take a look at that. It's either the face or the eyes. I'm not completely sure. We'll have to look at that. And I think we can go ahead and hop out of transpose here and maybe look at the curvature of her cheek going up through here. Try to play with that a little bit more, as well as this eye shape. So let's T-pose subtools, head on back. And let's see. The default priest head in ZBrush. I didn't know it was a priest. Katie's talking about, I think the demo head. I didn't know that the demo head was a priest. Maybe there's another mesh that's a default head in ZBrush. If you guys are looking for some bases, there's some pretty good stuff in here for just working with human characters in general. Sometimes just having some geometry to work with in the beginning can be very helpful. Let's move some stuff around here. Priest head. Maybe there's a different one. either way. There's some good stuff in there. I actually really recommend the, if you go into, where is it? I think it might actually be under projects. Maybe not. The Ryan Kingsline mesh. This is just a ZTL, so you can just load this in on whatever you're working on, no problems. And it's not just a skeleton. It actually has a ton of muscles in here, and it's just a great proportional reference if you're doing some anatomy studies. I recommend working with this a lot. Not only is this a pretty accurate reference, but also it's got everything in here named for you. So if you want to start studying up on some names, you can maybe at random just come in here and turn on your polyframe, select a muscle, and then try to guess what it is before you look over here at your subtools. Maybe you can hide them. That's the TFL, or the tensor fascia latius, something like that. Tensor fascia latte. I like latte. Latier, I think is maybe what it is. It doesn't matter though. Let's go back to our character. But yes, I definitely recommend that if you guys are looking for some good 3D reference as well. I'm a fan. Let's just ZRemesh this hair really low, since it's just a placeholder, and get that real low res here. Something like that. Let's see. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with starting from a base, as long as you change it enough so that it's no longer recognizable from where you got it, in my opinion. I prefer using bases that I've made. In all honesty, I like starting, if I'm working on a personal project, pretty much every time I will start from scratch. The hardest part of working on a character, in my opinion, a lot of these early stages, thinking about proportions, just creating some primitive forms, and getting everything to start working together as you continue to think about especially if you're working on something stylized, there's a lot of room for variation in proportions. So in that instance, you got to start thinking a lot about tapering shapes, your edge quality, thick to thin, and straights versus curves, all this good stuff. And we have a lot of that going on already. So straight, curve, some nice thick to thin going on throughout this leg. And we'll continue to modify all these shapes as we go. But for the most part, I don't think it really matters whether you're using a base or not. It also depends on what you're trying to accomplish. If you're just trying to make, if you're working in production, the reason so many pros use bases in production, any work that I've done in production, just the objective is to just get it done as fast as you possibly can. As fast and as cheap as possible. That's all that matters. Make it look good and get it done quick. So obviously, starting from something is going to help you do that a lot faster than starting from nothing. If you're just trying to practice though, maybe you should start to think about doing everything from scratch just so you can work on all these skills. And then after it's all done, it's nice for you to be able to say that you are responsible for everything. But yeah, production, go ham. Go cray. Tried to tighten that up just a little bit too much there. But we are getting a nice transition from this lower lip into here. Get that looking good. And soften some of this. Alright, just softening, cleaning that up. We still got some issues with that corner of the mouth. We still have some issues with the depth of our face. Let's load in the old version though, so that we can kind of just see where we've come from since we started on our stream. I believe this is her. So, you know, it's just a continued process of blocking everything out. After you get one step further, I think in our last stream, the main thing that we did was create the mouth bag. If you don't know what a mouth bag is, it's just this little area in here so that we can keep these lips separated nicely. And now since then, we've jumped forward, started to round out the face more, mess with our eyes, blend a lot of those shapes together. So I've started to round that out quite a bit more. Maybe it's gotten a little too squashed. I don't know. Like I said, this is a lot of experimentation and stuff. But it's always good to see where you're coming from as you progress forward. So make sure you're doing that. Can't look forward unless you look back a couple times every now and again. Or at least it's good to. You don't want to just run forward aimlessly. This is this angle here is really bothering me, so I'm going to try to push this all back at once without breaking my face. We'll see. Kind of looking a little froggy right now. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, starting from scratch for practice, you'll learn more, but it depends also on what your objective is. Absolutely. Looks like we got a heated discussion going on here about what's better. What's better? Should you start from scratch, or shouldn't you? I think I've said pretty much. It sounds like the Wii theme music. I think I've said pretty much all I can on that. Depends what you're trying to focus on, right? So looking a little squeezed, little froggy. Let's see. We'll try to get some of that back in there, some of that height, some of that better appeal that we had in when we had that a little bit taller. Let's try, you know, sometimes I just try like big changes, something where oh no, ZBrush, don't. Okay, there. I'll just try like adding a really big squash or stretch or some kind of big move with my transpose line. Sometimes that's helpful. I think her eyelids are looking a little bit too subducted into her head. I think that's adding to that froggy quality. And I think, so I'm gonna try to move those eyelids up and out because I think the eye shape is pretty good from the front view. It's not perfect, but I think maybe lowering our eye within the head will help with that, because that's where our vert is. So let's try that. So here's the center point for our eyes. We have some quick little pupils just painted on there if we want to mess with those. Could even set this to toy plastic. That can sometimes be helpful. Let's try material fill object. So we're filling that in. And then I think that should be fine. That should leave it that way. So let's maybe slide that down even a little bit more. Slide those back. That placement feels a little bit better to me. And let's, how should I do this? I'm just gonna mask off our top lid like this. Something like that, and then slide this back as a whole. See if that works. One big old move here. Definitely looking a lot stronger from the front view. From the side view, still feeling really flat. So I think, how are we feeling about that move on the top lid? Let's keep doing that. Looking at eyelid order, 1, 2, 3. Sometimes I'll even paint in manually that little farkle on the eye, just so your eyes don't look quite as dead, which is definitely something that tends to happen with my eyes. Depending on, you know, how low you're making that top lid, start to move that down just a little bit over that pupil, which helps a lot with feminine eyes. It starts to start to cover up that farkle, that little eye reflection there. I believe that that is the correct term for a little eye reflection, a farkle. Maybe that's not right, but can't remember where I heard that. I'm gonna try to make this brow transition a little bit more of a thing. It feels very flat to me. And from this 3/4 view to the side view, start to look really flat in our eyes. So let's focus on that a little bit here. Alright, I'm gonna have to mute both of you if you guys want to continue to argue. I would recommend doing it somewhere else. I can either mute or ban you guys. So let's play nice. Rule number 1, the only rule in my chat, don't be an asshole. If you don't know if you're being an asshole, I'll let you know. Let's just be nice to each other, gang. Alright, well, you have a great night, you Soother, and let's try to play nice in the future. Try to get a little bit more of this kind of angle coming up from the eyelid. So typically on the inner edge, I'm trying to make that a little bit higher. On the outer edge, make that a little bit lower. I think we're getting a nice wrap here though from eye to eye. but as we rotate around that 3/4 angle, we start to lose some of that. So let's continue to work on maybe pulling this out around, get a nice curve here, and play with that a little bit more. I might have to make those eyes a little bit adjusted here. I'm trying to look at this angle. I've pointed these out pretty far. We can maybe try to rotate these within the skull. I think what's going to end up happening though, yeah, I'll do that a little bit. So what happens with your eyes, if you make your eyes face directly forward, your character will look cross-eyed. Your eyes are not facing directly forward when you're looking at something. Depending on how close or how far away it is, your eyes will be further or closer apart. You can maybe look at them. Well, I guess you wouldn't be able to look in a mirror. You might be able to get really close to a mirror, and then as you back up, you might be able to see your eyes start to do that. Never tried it. Or just have a friend, have a finger or something that they pull close to and far away from their face. So it starts to look really awkward if you point them directly towards each other. So let's try to get that volume now in our brow. Back. What we're looking for is from our 3/4 angle, wrapping up from here. Move this. Coming up around the cheek, hitting here, coming up, and then it's looking really flat right now. Whatever I can do to just get a little bit more of that depth in there, I think it's going to help us. So right now I'm putting in a super strong pinch here, just to help turn our surface. And we can start, let's just use a kind of a larger brush here. Help pull that edge out along that brow. And possibly start trimming this back. Rotating back to that 3/4 view. And go some more pinchies from here. So super tight at first, but of course we're gonna soften this. Always just trying to get that surface super hard at first. And let's try to plane this shape out a little bit better, as I think the roundness here is not helping anything. So again, I'm not looking at any references, so that's really bad on my part. I haven't really figured out the direction that I want to go with this face. So it's kind of why we've just been sitting here experimenting with a bunch of different shapes, trying to figure out how we want to do this. And I'll probably spend some time before our next stream, at least the next stream when we work on the face a bunch more, to find some kind of appeal that we can aim for, some kind of style guide a little bit for ourselves. Because right now I'm kind of just like pushing around stuff, trying to find what I like, what I don't. Finding more so what we don't like than what we do, which is a lot of what art is in general. We're getting there though, slowly but surely. The front view is looking a lot more appealing. We just start to lose a lot of that as we start to rotate around. And we are not 2D artists. We got to do it all in 3D. It's got to look good from all the angles, unfortunately. I'm just gonna really push this in, see if I can get that the transition even better. I think that's feeling better at least. It's getting there. Maybe a little bit too much, actually. It's fine though. Get a little bit more. Tighten up some of this transition, I think. If we look here, we're getting some really bad kind of stretching just because of how that was ZRemeshed. That's fine, we'll clean that up. Try not to worry about it too much right now. Just kind of focus on really getting that to transition pretty well for our brow. It's still looking, as we rotate around, I think it's just a little bit too much now. And this angle for the head is pretty far off from what I want. Let's see, let's turn our hair on. Our hair buck, I guess. From here, once I start playing with that hair more, which I'll have to find some kind of hairstyle or something that I want to do, but once I start getting into that, I'll just start using curved tubes and dragging out some base geometry. That was cute. That's fun. Something like that. A little bit more complex than that, but that's the brush that we'll be at least using for that process, and then we'll do some more stuff from there. But we're getting there. We're getting there. Trying to get these angles down a little bit better. Some of these hits are not quite reading the way we want them to. But yeah, like I said, maybe we pause on that and try to find something that we actually want to take for direction with those. Forgot my brows as well. Had those off for so long. I'm actually going to keep this geometry around here nice and tight for now, and then I'll soften that a bit later. Let's see. So maybe at this point we can, what do you guys think? Start looking at the body a little bit more. Play around with just proportions in general. Again, I think she's looking better from the front view. It's just these really start to lose that as we rotate around. So we'll have to work on that. But like I said, I kind of want to find something to aim at, something to aim for, because our current reference here that we were using for our body earlier, just for proportions, for size, because I wanted to do something a little bit smaller. I'm not a fan of these style of faces. It's not typically what I aim for. So I don't know. We'll play with all of this. Maybe we can add some subdivs in here. But what we are looking for, so here, I'll show you guys. I actually need to get to a place where I can start rendering this character. We'll load this up. Not this character, but the character that I'm opening. Last human character that I worked on, sculpted asymmetrically from not the very beginning. I blocked out a lot, kind of like what I'm doing here in a neutral-ish pose, I would say, and then continued to go here. But the pose is so drastic, and the pushing of shapes in this character. The 2D reference is by D Dino on ArtStation if you guys are interested in checking out the 2D. But a lot of the shapes in the legs and arms and stuff are different, just between the two of them. So there's a lot of stuff that's really pushed super far in this character, and because of that, you know, it's just a lot smarter for me to tackle this asymmetrically. And sculpting asymmetrically is not my normal kind of process. At least I don't start as early as I did for this character, and because of that, you know, it takes a lot longer just to do all that. I worked on this character on and off for I probably worked on this like a day or two a week for 2 months, so like 7 to 14-ish days, just kind of chipping away on this. I'm pretty happy with where it is right now. There's some stuff that I might want to change up in the hair. I've mentioned this in another stream. I've done some additional stuff with the hair since then, and I don't know, at this point I want to throw it all in Keyshot or something like that, and start playing around with it, seeing how it looks in there. Typically once I throw something in a render engine, that's when I start to notice a couple more things that I want to tweak. So I'll try that, and let's see, we'll keep working on our gal. But let me know if you guys have any questions about that character, any of that process, and we can start looking at a couple other things here. So hands. I haven't even looked at this hand since we've started, so maybe we can pop in here on this handy dandy handy and play around with it. But welcome everybody. Welcome anyone who is new. Hope you guys are having a great night. Normally I don't stream on Sundays, so we're kind of just hanging out, chilling, getting some sculpting done, playing around with our spooky October character, trying to make a witch, or at least that's the plan right now. I would like to... What would I like to do? I would like to make these hands a little bit more feminine, and try to get a little bit more of a wedge shape for some of this. So let's hide everything except for our hands and our arms. And I will actually, I'm just gonna hide part of that arm and part of this one. So I'm just looking at the wrist, just the hand here, and I can maybe start to align some of this and get this working a little bit better. Right now I imported this from another character. This is just a base hand that I like to use sometimes. I would like to make a lot better base hand because I hate sculpting hands. I've done way too many hands in the past. I haven't done enough hands, but I've done more hands that I want to do. So let's see. Let's delete hidden. Merge it down, ZRemesher. I like to get a little bit of a wrist in here so that I can start working on this connection here. Just how that's going to transition. We can maybe soften this a little bit first. You start to get a little bit of that kind of crappy ZBrush transitions. It's where it starts to look like really rounded up through there. You want to avoid that for the most part. That's why I'll try to hit up some pinch brush. Whoops. And make this feel a little bit better. And we can maybe shorten our hand as well. What I'll probably end up doing here, how should I do this? Probably just take one finger and I'll split off the thumb. Finger and thumb. Take this finger, delete the other ones, and I'll just work on one finger here, and then I'll duplicate it after I've gotten this finger to a little bit of a better place. Right now it's separated into separate meshes. Whoops, what's going on? There we go. So I need to sit here and dynamesh these together. Who is that? FK Show! Thank you for the follow there, I appreciate it. Hope you're having a good night. So let's get in here, dynamesh this fingy. Just use the base res, 120 is fine. And we'll just res it up a little bit more, just so I can see these separations a little bit better. Slice them. Get some polygroups going on. I'll do one back here too, just so I can define my knuckles a little bit better. ZRemesh, keep groups as low as possible. Did I not do it? Is it not working? There we go. And those polygroups will retain for me there. Let's see. Delete some more stuff. Try to clean these up. And I'm not liking the silhouette there, so what I try to do on the tops of my knuckles, get those to be a little bit more square. And then it's okay if it's a little bit more tapered on the inside. Probably try to round some of this out. And maybe add in some bevels to make those creases tighter between the digits. Kind of depends on what you're going to do with your hand pose though. Let's see here. What else? What else can we do? Let's start off here. Do the same thing to the thumb very quickly. Just a quick polygroup or two. Help make that transition a little bit better. Figure out this thumb as well. I think these fingers are a little fat. I pulled this off of a male hand, very masculine. So I probably want these to be quite a bit more thin once I start merging these together into my hand. Cool. Start to mess with this thumb shape a little bit, I guess. Like I said, I'm only going to do one of these fingers, and then after that I will just duplicate it across here, make them a little bit longer or I'm sorry, a little bit shorter as we go down to the pinky, and mess with how thick they are probably as well. And try to get this to follow the line of the hand here. And I think we can just start working on cleaning up this hand in general. Let's see. Start to get a little bit of the silhouette of the hand in here. This shape isn't looking super great, so let's just start messing with this. I'll typically just start to define some planes for my hand. Here, this kind of just represents the webbing of your fingers here. I'll try to, whoops, get a little bit more thin in here. And then just coming from the knuckles forward, looking at your own hand, you can just see that kind of plane change happening there. So I'll try to represent that a little bit. And then on the side, get some of this in there. Some of the meat. Make sure that my hand's not getting too fat. Again, this was a masculine kind of male hand here. Masculine hand. Let's make it a little bit more thin. Just quickly define some of these plane changes in here. They can be rough. It's not a huge deal. Let's maybe just squash all of that. I don't know. Sure, why not? Let's try to get a little bit of that angle of the hand in there. Hand's looking really fat as well. And proportionally, this is looking like dirt, so let's move this shape back quite a bit. I'm doing that like this. All these changes are pretty quick and rough, but in those early stages, that's kind of what you want. You don't want to sit here and define everything super well and then have this big major shape that you need to fix. That will probably, inevitably you're going to have stuff that you want to change down the road, but the more that you can do of that in the early stage before you start defining stuff, the less you're going to have to redo. So I at least try to keep that in mind while I'm working on some of this. Slide this over. We're getting pretty off placement here. I'm just kind of looking at my own hand and sketching in some quick proportional changes and differences. I say this a lot, but anatomy is important for working on stylized characters. Anatomy is important in general, but it's just a tool. Even if you don't know everything about the hand, you most likely have two hands that you can look at and reference. Really what's important is your ability to see and replicate forms. And I know that sounds super basic, but really the basics are what's most important in pretty much everything. People like to think that there's secrets and stuff. There's no secret technique. It's just like this is really far off now. It's all the fundamentals. All the fundamentals add up. Oh boy. Oh Nelly. Gotta move a bunch of stuff here. I feel like it's the same thing like with art as it is with like losing weight or going to the gym. People always want like that quick diet plan or that one workout program, That's gonna be the thing that does it. Diets, like, I don't think there's a single diet that works, right? Diets don't work. What works is, well, the reason diets don't work, I'm not saying that diets don't do what they're supposed to do, but the reason diets don't work long term is because people will do a diet and they'll do or a cleanse or something like that, and they'll do it for, I'm gonna do keto for the next 3 months, and it's like, okay, and then go back to eating how I used to eat. Like, okay, well that doesn't solve anything. What helps is little changes over time, lifestyle changes, and all that. And sometimes that's really hard to hear for people. I really don't know why. It's like, I feel like some people just want to be lied to. They just want to feel like there's that easy secret. They don't want to know that it's actually just the way you get good at sculpting is by sculpting a shit ton. That's it. That's the secret, guys. It's true. Sometimes people don't want to hear that. Somebody emailed me recently asking for advice about, how do I improve? This was literally last week. How do I improve as quickly as possible? And it's not like I get these kind of questions all the time, and they, you know, told me some other info, and I was like, okay, well, like, what's your, you know, your daily routine looking like? And they're like, well, you know, go to work, do all this, blah blah. It's not an artistic job, and then I come home, and then I'm just too tired to like do any art, like, so I just play video games or watch something on Netflix, and I'm like, okay, like, do you maybe see where there's something you could be doing that's a little different? I don't know, maybe there's some discrepancies in what you're saying you want to do and what you're actually doing. It's, so, you know, you bring that up and they're like, well, I just, you know, make excuses, more excuses. And it's like, well, you're not hurting anybody but yourself, so I tried to, that's why anymore I feel like I try to avoid giving advice, because I feel like most of the time I don't know, I'm a pretty objectively minded person. I'm pretty rational, so I try not to sugarcoat things too often. Let's see, how we doing on time, guys? Pretty chill for a Sunday night stream. We're already at 2 hours here. Thanks everybody for just coming and hanging out. Hope you guys are having a great night, getting ready for, oh, my neck, getting ready for Monday, tomorrow. That's gonna be fun, right? Back to the old grind. The grind never ended here, though. We're still, Sunday was supposed to be a chill day. We're still chilling. We're just also sculpting, which I like sculpting, so it's somewhat therapeutic, but you know, you do anything too long, it starts to wear you down, so it's important to take breaks. But today I wasn't feeling any, you know, Netflix and chill, so we ZBrush and chill tonight. I believe that's what the actual name of the stream is right now. I'm not looking at it. I think that's what I labeled it. Let's see. I'm trying to polygroup some of this stuff. Kind of being annoying. Let's just say that's good enough. Let's just say that that is close enough, and see what ZBrush does. ZBrush sometimes likes to do some really crappy geometry whenever you, yep, just like that. Whenever you put any two polygroups butted up against each other with like a 90-degree angle. That's fun. That's fun. It's pretty close to what I wanted though, so sure. Sure. Let's just look at proportions from like the big pic. Zoom on back out. Where's our arm? My arms are gone. Probably, let's see. They always say make your hands about the size of your face. Kind of depends on your style of character. I think we're pretty close once we get the rest of those fingers in there and everything else. What song is this? I've heard this before. Mittens. That's right, Pop Sky. Pop Sky's like my favorite thing to listen to while streaming right now. If you guys don't know about Pop Sky, definitely check him out. He's got some really cool music, and he's totally cool with people using it on streams or videos and everything else. Real cool dude. Or I think there might be more than one person that creates some of the music for Pop Sky. I'm not actually positive on that. Let's see. I have not merged in our upper arms into our torso. I've just made this little area here so that this shape that you're seeing right here is really hard to maintain when you merge in your arms and start getting all that together. So I've tried to forego just merging that all in. So it looks a little weird right now, but it is on purpose, I promise. And I'll work on, you know, lining all this up so that we can blend this in better. I've already kind of sculpted in the deltoid form for my actual arm here, at least as much as I want it. I don't need it to be super defined, definitely not for a small female character, and definitely not for something with the style that we're going for. I just wanted to make that look a little bit less awkward there, and that'll also help it blend a little bit better once we get into that stage. I could maybe make this a little bit more thin, just kind of really big move brush, push this back, and that'll help this blend a little bit better, I think, later on too. Right now we'll get some issues in this area. I think in general this needs to close up more like this, because the armpit's not, your armpit doesn't start up here. Definitely not. You have your pec. Maybe we could throw in a pec muscle or some geometry here, but your pec, like, if I can get it to do it, like flows up and connects into your humerus, or at least, actually no, all heads of your pectoral muscles flow up and connect to your humerus. There's like something notch on your humerus, maybe one of you guys knows the anatomical name for it. It's really not important, but there's like 10 muscles that all, not 10, but it's like your teres major, minor, wrap around and connect all in this same spot. Your pecs and your delt are like all, what's up? We're all here hanging out. Something humeral notch is probably correct. Let's see. Looking back at our hand. Get some more volume in here in certain areas. Maybe a little bit less in others. Something's wrong. Back face masking's on. Let's try to line up some more stuff. The rest of my character's getting in the way. Normally I hide half of something when I'm working on a hand or a leg or anything where the geometry would get in the way, like this, just because it's really annoying. So I recommend just temporarily hiding it, and then you can unhide it later, or if you delete it, you can just mirror it back and it should be fine. We're getting a little bit of an awkward flow right through here, so let's try to correct that. It's mainly the angle of a lot of this stuff. Placement here is off by quite a bit. And the reason I might, maybe I can duplicate, let's see, can I get all my fingers back? Yes, but they will be out of placement. Sometimes I will keep all of these in here, just so I can get an idea of what this is looking like a little bit better. Let's see. Nah, that's not gonna work. I'm not going to duplicate the finger until I form that up a little bit better. Plane this out a little bit better here. And that should be fine. So I'll extend these fingers into the hand a little bit like I have right now. One, it helps you define the knuckle here. And then two, it just makes it a lot easier once you start dynameshing all these shapes. This finger, let's see, let's make this quite a bit shorter. And maybe just pull it in some. Actually, instead of making it shorter, I'll just scale it in because it looks pretty fat. Maybe it's a combination of the two. Let's see, go back to scale. Also scale down our fat thumb. And try to get some of these hits to be a little bit more accurate. Normally I'll work on a left hand so that I can look at my left hand while I sculpt with my right. So let's mirror this over to the other side. Work on it over there. The greatest reference right here in front of you. Like I said, I hate sculpting hands just because the way I sculpt, I think I'm, in general, a pretty slow sculptor, but that's mainly because, well, while I'm streaming, I'm even more slow, just because I'm trying to talk and talk through my process of what's going through my head and why I'm making certain changes. But also, I'm trying to make super clean forms a lot of the time, and for me, I like things to be exactly the way I want them. Even, in these early stages, we're building up to that level. We'll get there eventually, but I like to take my time with this stuff. Especially when I'm just working on personal work, it's definitely not a race. This isn't for production. Some stuff I would do a lot faster if it were, and I'd be starting from, the best base I possibly have. Depending on, obviously what type of character or what type of mesh you're trying to create. But I have a female base mesh that I use for a lot of stuff already. And it's not super defined or anything, but it is planed out in a very nice manner. So it takes a lot of the early stage work out of the process. A lot of that, referencing, going back and forth, experimentation, which is a lot of what we've been doing. But I did say that I wanted to do some experimentation for this character, so I'm definitely fine with it. It's just a matter of, let's see here, building this stuff up slowly. and finding what we like and what we don't like. Yeah, which I said earlier, a lot more that we don't like than what we do so far. But that's alright. All in good time. All in good time. Let's see. Remesh this with a target poly count of 1K. No poly groups. I'll just let ZRemesher do its thing. Normally I'll use poly groups to force it to do something. And I actually will. I lied. I'll do it just once on the wrist, just because that geometry was so awful. I'll try one more time. 1K actually might just be too high. Too high in general. Ooh. Let's see. We'll mess with the proportions there a little bit too. Let's quick save, because my finger just disappeared on me. Jumped over to the other side. Very strange. Don't know what just happened there. Okay, make that a little bit longer. Let's see. Try to keep that first digit about as long as your palm. You can kind of line that up. Everyone's hands are slightly different. If you're looking at your hand, your middle finger might not be your longest finger, and also depending on the angle at which you are holding your fingers with your hand, you'll notice that because of the curvature of your hand and just the way that your joints are positioned, as you bend your hand in, your ring finger will actually become your longest finger. So the more you bend your fingers from that first knuckle there, the longer your ring finger will get compared to your middle finger. You can try it yourself. Everybody try it at home. Fun interaction here on the Follygon stream. I'm just gonna imagine all of you doing that. And if you're not, well, you're missing out on all the fun. Let's see. I might either thicken up the wrist, or make the palm smaller. The thumb needs to be hitting about, I'll just scale in from here, about there once it's rotating. It's rotating back here on this joint. That feels a lot better. And the thumb is a little flat. We can rotate that in. It's not really at the correct angle. Even if you were to hold your palm out, your thumb just has a little bit of a twist to it. And maybe we can change that up some too. Let's try to Dynamesh this thumb in. I think that'll help out some too. So just a quick Dynamesh here. Try like 300, I think is what we've been doing at the lowest. And then we can use some pinch to help define planes of the knuckle and any other area. Any crease or anything like that. Yeah, this angle more so going this way. Start to get that in there a little bit better. Maybe start to build up the volume in your little snuff box, as it's called. anatomical snuff box. I don't know what the actual name is, or if it even has a name for this little area. I think it's called that because it's used for what? I don't know. Snuffing something. I'm not a snuffer, so can't say. Let's get in here, pinch up some more stuff, and then maybe leave the rest of that for later. Maybe we can focus in on something else here, since we've done a little bit of junk there to our finger and palms, our palm and fingers. We can look at that a little bit more later. I'll still just keep one hand on the body for now. We can maybe see what it would look like. Just making sure that, oops, let's see. This will be about twice this length, right? What is that? 1.65 units. And we're looking at 1.67, all right. So I might need to make my hands a little bit bigger here, but I'll wait to do that until I get all the phalanges working together on there. What else? What else do we want to work on here? I'm keeping things pretty simple in the body overall. A lot of it's going to be covered up by clothing. So I basically just want the major landmarks, anything that's going to affect the surface. So this turn in the ribs, any kind of silhouette change that would happen in the stomach, back, legs, all that. So I think I'm gonna leave the rest of the body here actually as well. Maybe we can look at the depth of our face a little bit more. I want to start digging up some concepts so we can start figuring out what direction we want to go with the witch character. Since we're kind of we've been flirting with a bunch of different ideas, trying some stuff out. We haven't really done anything, we haven't decided on anything definitively yet. Ouch. I don't know. Maybe I'll merge in these ears really quick. Or define them up just a little bit better since they're just little old squished spheres, and then we'll see what we got from there. Let's add in a couple subdivs. Ooh, 1 second here. There we go. I'm going to keep these ears pretty simple. I have an insert multi-mesh brush of some nice ears that I sculpted quite a while ago, and I use these typically if I'm working on something a little bit more realistic, but since we're going with stylized, you know, let's keep it nice and simple. One thing we could do, and sometimes I'll do this, is start with this base of a more realistic ear that I've created, and just I'll line it up with that's two separate tools. 1 second here. Split hidden and then transparent. I'll just line it up with this, rotate, and then after that I'll take this shape and just simplify it. So this actually has subdivision levels, so I can just reconstruct them and then work on that a little bit. So if we don't want to use that ear, we can just delete that. Uh-oh. Got a little bit of an issue there with our eye. Let's mirror, and weld. That was the problem that we were looking at earlier. I noticed that some stuff was off on our eyes. I also need to fix some of that depth in there as well. But yes, much too realistic in the ears. So we'll just smooth out some of this. And I'll start modifying this to make this look a bit more blocky. even just really smooth some of this out. We'll turn off that mesh. This area needs some work. Actually, the depth of our face, the profile of our face needs work in general. This definitely helps, but let's just try to keep this solo for now so that I can get a good read on this ear mesh. And just work on the profile from the front. I don't want to get too complex with the silhouette or the shapes in general. Another thing we can do is just use our move back face masking and really kind of just come in here and thicken up some of this stuff to help simplify the shape. I think that will help out a lot. Let's see, what else? What else? That's probably a little bit too strong. So, I don't know, we can trim some of this maybe. I've seen a lot of really cool stylized ears. I think, honestly, the best stylized ears for, you know, like, if you look at like Disney ears, a lot of the time it's just like that really basic silhouette, and then they have like a blocky internal shape sometimes for the ear canal, and that's like it. I think the more simple you go with ears on stylized characters, typically the better. So that's kind of why I like to do them from scratch a lot of the time, which is what we had before, but just kind of showing how you can also use a realistic ear if you have one. If you have a base mesh, and then work it a little bit more. I'll dynamesh this to help clean it up, and then maybe even smooth some of that, so that starts to get even more simple. So that's kind of helping with that feeling. Maybe push in a little bit here, and then once we blend with the head, that will clean up that, is that your tragus or something? I can't remember exactly what it's called. But the way we could start to do that is just create like a proxy mesh to merge into, so you can like duplicate your head and then merge your ear into your head like this, and then dynamic. It'll also help you figure out those areas where things get a little bit too close together. So like up here I want to pull out, because if I dynamesh this now, that'll merge that together. So I'm just going to do this at first. Getting pretty laggy here. Live booleans on, it's probably not helping. Not doing us any favors. Alright, let's dynamesh the ear into our head. And all I want is this. I don't want anything else. So from there, just delete hidden. If you want to close holes around that shape, whatever you want to do, it doesn't really matter. Really, you're just doing this so that you can start blending this into your head a little bit before you actually merge it into your head. The reason I'm doing it this way is because I don't want to, don't crash, please. I don't want to, what you doing, ZBrush? That was weird. Let's quick save. What was I saying? I don't want to merge the head and the ear directly together right now because I have polygroups in this, and I want to use these to help define the depth of the head. So I'm going to continue to keep that separate for now, but I will merge those together eventually. I'm going to have to. And then for anything that's, extra here on the surface, that will definitely blend in. If you want to use your move brush or even your smooth brush, you can really easily just push that in a little bit, since it's pretty much, it should be meeting up with the surface pretty well. For anywhere it's not, take your move brush a little bit, push it in, and go from there. But now we've simplified that ear shape quite a bit. At this stage, you could maybe ZRemesh it again if you wanted to, just so you have something a little bit lower to work with if you want to continue to mess with it. I think it's kind of fine for now. I'll probably just leave it. We'll see what this ZRemesh looks like, I guess, since I clicked it. I think that's fine. But from the front view, just kind of making sure that a couple things line up between your nose and your eyes. So maybe we'd want to move our ears down a little bit. And if we don't want to mess with that extra connecting mesh, we can just mask it off. That feels a little bit more accurate. I think that's fine. Oops. Push that in. Make sure that our angle flowing back from our jawline is feeling okay. The shape of our ear feeling good. I think the silhouette from the front looks okay. Typically you won't be able to see your little tragus guy because your cheekbones will cover it from the front view. So that's typically a good way that you can help line up your cheekbones as well and help get that flow down. So all the parts of the head really help to indicate, different areas, so you can start lining up stuff and referencing it against itself. That's why I try to get a lot of the parts in there early on. But we've been jumping around, experimenting. I'm not too worried about speed or anything on a personal project like this. So again, we're not in a rush. We're not in a hurry. This curve is getting quite a bit too strong through the head, so I'll have to figure out that plane change there a little bit better, and maybe we can look at that a little bit now. I would prefer, like I said earlier, to maybe find a good 2D reference that we can actually, aim for, a good style, good appeal. Now that we've gotten a lot of our basic, just parts and pieces in here, it's nice and easy for us to try to hit something else. As I make just kind of a generic head with certain things in mind, like for instance the roundness of the face, and kind of just playing around with that eye shape, making sure that we're getting that gap at particular angles that I wanted to. There are some other things in here that I think in general could just be improved. But I would, like I said, I prefer. Let's try to find something to work with and then go from there. So, with all that said, and all that kind of played with and out of the way, I think that's going to be a good place for us to stop for tonight for our chill ZBrush stream. So thank you guys for coming and hanging out. I appreciate it. Hope you guys are having a good weekend, or what's left of it. But I'll be streaming again tomorrow morning. We'll be back on schedule next week. We just decided to do a little bit of an extra stream here on the weekend. Just hang out, get some more sculpting done. But yeah, tomorrow at 10 a.m. EST, Eastern US time. So hopefully I'll see you guys then. If not, all the videos here on stream go up on my YouTube channel, which is linked below for you guys, and all the other videos of me, you know, from where I started on this character on there, as well as a ton of other stuff, tutorials and all that kind of junk. But yeah, let's see what else. If you guys like the stream, or if you like the free stuff that I do on my YouTube channel, or any of that, I would appreciate it a lot if you checked out my Gumroad here. Oop. All the stuff that I do here, I put a ton more work into all the stuff that I do on my streams and my YouTube channel. So courses, mentorship, I got some brushes and materials down on there as well. I just recently released a tutorial for rendering in Keyshot, if you guys want to check that out. So that's Gumroad/Follygon. I'd appreciate it. And if not, if you could share it, that would be great as well. But yeah, IngeonX, glad to see you're still here. Thank you for the share. Absolutely. Thank you for coming and hanging out. All right. I think that's everything, guys. So I'll hopefully see you tomorrow. Have a great rest of your night. All right. Bye, guys.